I gave up lifting weights for a long time. I've been a Peloton rider pre-COVID, and I love starting a morning with yoga. Okay, not every morning, but I can tell the difference when I don't. Somewhere along the way, the weights just stopped being part of the routine. A few months ago, I started doing them. I love my Peloton app for all things exercise. And I noticed a difference pretty quickly. Week after week, I can tell that the reps are working and I'm stronger and also sometimes very sore. Despite my best efforts, I cannot fully turn off my brain while I exercise. Time exercising is actually when I do some of my clearest thinking. I work through conversations from the week, problems I've been sitting with, or process the various conversations I've had with clients. And this week, a company shared that they had received a privacy rights request and genuinely did not know what to do with it. That stayed with me through the rest of the workout because it is not an unusual situation. Most companies that struggle with privacy rights requests are not skipping the whole program. They have a part of it, like the web form, email box, or response templates. Having pieces that are not purposefully connected into a seamless process doesn't help a company when they get a consumer rights request. The common pattern I see is just like the call I had. A deletion request comes in through a form on the company website. Because it came in through that channel, it sometimes lands, and most often, with the marketing team. Marketing might just respond directly to the consumer with or without properly vetted responses or verification methods. Or the marketing team starts asking legal or compliance, what do I do? Meanwhile, all that forwarding is using up precious time in the rights request window, which is typically 45 days in the US and 30 days if global, especially in the EU or the UK. Maybe a week later, an employee submits a request asking what personal data the company holds about them. It comes through the same website form and also ends up with marketing, who now definitely doesn't know what to do. If there's no formal policy or process, that means there was likely no training with teams such as HR to know what to do. Employee requests operate differently than consumer requests. Once again, legal or compliance needs to get involved, plus HR and maybe even outside counsel, depending on the request and complexity of the situation. This is the ownership problem. Privacy rights requests cut across multiple parts of an organization. Marketing often controls intake because the form lives on the website. And I appreciate that that's not necessarily in every company. I see a lot of companies who might not have strong legal compliance or privacy teams that marketing is owning this process. And so then what happens is somewhere along the line, they need response language, and IT is the one who's owning the actual data systems and access. So teams have not mapped a shared workflow connecting their piece to the next one. And when a request arrives, it bounces between functions until someone improvises a solution or the deadline passes. The practical tip I have for you: map out every team that touches a privacy rights request: intake, identity verification, routing, data retrieval, response drafting, and documentation. For each step, identify who owns it and how the handoff to the next step works. Any step without a clear owner or a documented handoff is where your process will fall apart. Many companies don't appreciate that just having a template is not the same as having a process, and I run into this situation regularly. A company engaged outside counsel to draft privacy rights response templates, and this is their privacy rights policy. Kudos to this company for having a policy and these templates that are also sitting in a folder on a shared drive that most of the relevant team has never opened. What's the real problem? Nobody built those templates into a documented procedure or connected them to a workflow. If there's no procedure or workflow, that means the teams or people who receive and handle the incoming requests don't know what to do or when. An end-to-end process should cover the inbound process: who and how responses are handled, where to find the templates, how to use them, or even that they exist. Even for the companies that have purchased a workflow automation solution, we've seen cases where there's just the web form with no workflow behind it. To build the workflow, you have to go through all the same steps. Companies can't skip the step of building a process. To get started, companies need to know which systems are involved and what data can be provided in an access or a deletion request. This is why a data inventory is so important. Hint, hint, check out our data inventory materials or sign up for the next data inventory masterclass. We have a waiting list going. Without it, companies are then first trying to solve for how to honor the privacy requests. Even when a company has a real documented process that has been reviewed by all the players like legal, compliance, and or privacy and assigned to specific owners, it can still break down if the people responsible for running it were never trained. The marketing coordinator who receives a web form submission needs to know what a privacy rights request is, what to do in the first 24 hours, and who to contact when something falls outside their lane. If it's an HR request, who does that get routed to? Who does the follow up internally to ensure it's done? Who responds to the requester? Training closes the gap between a policy and a process that lives in a document and one that actually functions. It does not need to be a long compliance course. It needs to cover what a request looks like, what to do right away, who owns each step, and where to find the templates and procedures. If there's software involved, the person or team responsible for the software needs to know how it works and how to mark various stages like review or approve. Since privacy laws keep passing and changing, companies might change the workflow design and template responses might change. It's important to know how the software tool works to make all these adjustments. Don't forget that people change roles, so having it documented clearly will help with the transition. My next practical tip for you: build a short, practical training for every team that handles any part of a privacy rights request. Schedule it to repeat annually and whenever your legal obligations or internal procedures change. Back to my exercise regimen. What made the difference was not doing everything at once or finding the perfect routine on day one. It was building something connected and showing up for all of it consistently, each day. Each piece supports the next. Privacy rights programs work the same way. Intake connects to verification. Verification routes to a clear owner who follows documented procedures. The people following the procedures have been trained on them, as well as the software tool, if applicable. Response time is being measured to ensure it goes out on time, and the burden of proof is always with the company. Someone knows how to actually honor the request and knows where the data is. Ask yourself, if a deletion request came in tomorrow, could your team handle it from start to finish without improvising? If the answer is not a confident yes, that is the rep worth doing this week. If not, identify, does the company need to brush up or create the policy, process, or training? If you're looking for a practical starting point, download our Red Clover Advisors Privacy Rights Guide. You can find it at redcloveradvisors.com. Go to downloadable resources. People love how practical our guides are in making privacy operational. Here's to wishing you workouts wherever privacy is the last thing on your mind.